Hi guys, welcome to chapter 10 of this video tutorial series. In this chapter, we'll be discussing about variables and store procedures. Now, store procedures are the most important database objects when it comes to the role of being a database developer. I think most of the times you will be writing store procedures, so you need to pay full attention if you could and try to understand the things. Obviously, we cannot explain everything about the store procedures in a single video. That would take a different series or different combination of videos. But let's discuss about the basics so that you first develop your basics right and then you can jump on to the advanced concepts. So let's start with variables. As with any language, variables play an important part in the role of executing the code or writing the code or how the code runs. In SQL, we also have the facility of using variables. We can store the data of any type into variables and then we can use that data later on. So you need to first understand how we declare a particular variable inside SQL statement or SQL queries or a SQL store procedure. So what you need to write is, first of all, is declare. Declare is another SQL keyword that you use in order to declare a variable. Then you need to type @sign and then name of the variable. In our case, let's say the name of the variable is variable1, and it is then followed by the data type that you want the variable to look like. Now it can be of int type, it can be of varchar type, just like we discussed the data types inside a column or data types of a column inside the database or inside the table. Similar data types you can use for variables as well. So let's assume that variable 1 is of int data type. So this is how the declaration part is done. Now when you want to assign any value to this variable, what you can do is you can use the set keyword and you can say set var1. Var1 you can see is coming up in the IntelliSense, and then you can assign any value for it. And if you want to check the value, whether the value indeed has been assigned to this variable 1, you can use the help of print command. So we'll do var1. So if you run this code, a value of 1000 should appear on your screen or in the results window. So let's test it. You can see that the 1000 has appeared in the messages window. This is a window, we call it as a results window. So another thing that I want to tell you about is that if you want to get rid of this results window, there is a shortcut for it, and the shortcut is Control R. You need to press Control R simultaneously and the window will disappear. Again, if you want to see the window, you can press Control R again and the window appears back. So this is how the variables are declared inside SQL Server. And another important factor that I want to introduce over here is sometimes you need to fetch the values from a particular table. In that case, what you need to do is you need to query the table as well as you need to assign that value to a particular variable. Let's take an example for this scenario. Let's first of all see what tables do we have in the first DB SQL database, and we have a table called employee. Let's query this table in order to find out, or rather expand this table node and then the columns node. So you can see it has EID and ENAME as the column, and now let us query in order to find out what rows or what actual values exist inside this. So you can see we have various values. What we want to do in this case is we want to assign a value of column name where the employee ID is 100. So how do we do it? Let's see. Now we will declare another variable and we will call this variable as var2, Now the name is of varchar type. You can see over here it's of varchar, it's a string. So in this case we will have to declare the data type of this variable as varchar, and let's assume that it is varchar 100. Now important point or important task over here is, instead of set, we will have to use select statement. So what we will do is we will do select @ var2 equal to, since we want to fetch the name, we will say name from employee table name. Now comes the where condition, where id equal to 100. Because at a time this is a scalar variable, we have the option of using table variables as well, but as of now I don't want to discuss it because that will confuse the things. So as of now you need to think, or you need to understand that this is a scalar variable which can hold a single value at a particular instant of time. So we can see that the name is actually NAME. So we got the spellings incorrect. So we'll change the name NAM to NAME. Now what we want to do is we want to print our variable var2 to see whether it is working or not. So you know the drill, just select the statements and then click on execute. So I think we got the ID column wrong. It should be EID, and that is why there was a red underlining in the ID column, because it says that the ID does not exist. But now we got it right, so we should expect it to work right. And you can see the ABC value is being stored in variable var2. Now these variables are you can say batch bound, which means that if I want to use the value of the variable now, it will not give any variable, or it will not give any value, because the variable has not been declared. So what it means is you can use the value of the variable only at a single run, or only at the time when you're running the particular query or particular bunch of queries. Okay, so you need to remember that. You need to remember simple thing, that the scope of variable is batch bound. That means that as soon as the query execution ends, the variables will no longer exist to the end users to use it. So this is how the variables work. It's a very, kind of simple thing to understand, but only thing that differs from different languages is how the syntax works. So we use declare, set, and select in order to assign the values to a particular variable. So you need to understand this. So now let's move on to the very important topic that we have to discuss if we want to complete the learning of a SQL Server, and that is store procedures.